Hello viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a show where we will provide you fresh insights into South Asia's geopolitical, strategic and security situation. Let's begin the show with the headlines first. Airstrikes intensify tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan. BYC documentary honors Karima Baloch's legacy and highlights Baloch women's struggles. And Pakistan terror network exposed with the arrest of Javed Munshi in West Bengal. Pakistan's growing friction with the Taliban has reached a breaking point, with deadly airstrikes in Afghanistan intensifying regional tensions. While Islamabad points fingers at the Taliban for harboring terrorists, its actions and policies are under scrutiny. The unfolding situation highlights a complex web of blame, terrorism and civilian suffering that demands global attention. We have a report.
Tensions are boiling over between Pakistan and the Taliban as violent clashes erupt along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Islamabad's attempts to tackle terrorism are backfiring, exposing its complicity in fostering instability in the region. On December 24, Pakistan launched airstrikes in Afghanistan's Bamul district, located in Paktika province. Pakistan jets targeted multiple villages, with Murg Bazars suffering extensive destruction. Reports indicate that 7 villages were hit, including Laman, where 5 members of the single family were killed. While Islamabad remains tight-lipped, sources close to the military claim that the strikes targeted hideouts of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. At least 15 bodies have reportedly been recovered, though official casualty figures are yet to be disclosed.
What has happened now? The Pakistanis have antagonized the Afghans. What they have killed there in those in the purported camp which they attacked, and they claim that we have killed a lot of these TTP personnel. But ultimately, that was the camp where a large number of women and children were staying, and all that they have killed is the is those TTP women and their children. And I think that calls for it. Very frankly, it is a shameful act, and it calls for a great deal of introspection by Pakistan.
The Afghan Defense Ministry strongly condemned the attacks, branding them a violation of international law. It accused Pakistan of targeting civilians, including women and children, many of whom were refugees from Pakistan's Waziristan region. This latest aggression comes amid escalating tensions over the TTP's presence in Afghanistan. Pakistan has repeatedly accused the Afghan Taliban of sheltering TTP fighters, who have intensified attacks on Pakistan forces in recent months. However, the Afghan Taliban denies these claims, asserting that the recent strikes targeted civilians rather than militants. Pakistan's troubled relationship with the Taliban is steeped in irony. In 2021, Islamabad openly supported the Taliban's takeover of Kabul, urging the global community to provide aid and recognition to the group. Pakistan stood as a lone advocate for the Taliban's return to power, hoping the regime would curb TTP's activities.
As far as Pakistan is concerned, I think they have made that very fundamental flaw in their thinking, that because we assisted Afghanistan, the Taliban of Afghanistan, in forming in their bad days, they gave them shelter, they gave them support, and now that government is in power. So the mistake which Pakistan has made is thinking that just because of that help, Afghanistan will be subservient to Pakistan. But when you look at Afghanistan's history, it's a very proud people. Of course, it's an Islamic, they call themselves an Islamic Emirate, not Afghanistan. They refer to themselves as the Islamic Emirate. So regardless of the religious affiliation, that feeling of Afghanness, that we are Afghanistan and this is our land, that element of pride is something which the Pakistanis haven't understood. And I think that is what is now haunting them, because Afghanistan is not playing second fiddle to the Pakistanis. So what we are really seeing now is Pakistan has got a very active front on its western border with Afghanistan.
However, reality has painted a starkly different picture. A United Nations report revealed that the Taliban remains sympathetic to the TTP, supplying weapons and aiding in cross-border attacks. The report highlights how Afghanistan under the Taliban has become a sanctuary for terror groups, including Al-Qaeda and TTP affiliates. Pakistan's strategy of supporting extremist groups for geopolitical gains has backfired. While Islamabad accuses the Taliban of harboring terrorists, it cannot escape its culpability. For decades, Pakistan has nurtured militant networks, turning the region into a hotbed of extremism.
While Pakistan presents itself as a victim of terrorism, the world doesn't believe it. And I think to that extent, India's foreign policy, India's political, initiatives and diplomatic initiatives have ensured that the world knows the truth, that Pakistan is a state sponsor of terror, and India will not talk to them till such time as they continue with those activities. Pakistan tries that counter narrative that they are the victims. But the question is, they were the people who created these terrorists. They've nurtured them. And now if those terrorists are coming back to haunt them, I think that is the fault of Pakistan.
The airstrikes in Afghanistan further erode Pakistan's credibility. By blaming the Taliban for escalating terrorism, Islamabad attempts to deflect from its role in fostering instability. The region now faces heightened insecurity, with civilians paying the ultimate price for these geopolitical games.
Moving on, the death of prominent Baloch activist Karima Baloch 4 years ago raised suspicions of targeted assassinations by the Pakistani state. Karima, a vocal critique of enforced disappearances and military oppression, became a symbol of resistance for the Baloch rights. After fleeing to Canada due to constant threats, her tragic death in 2020 remains shrouded in mystery. On the 4th anniversary of her passing, the Baloch Yakjahti Committee has released a powerful documentary that not only pays tribute to Karima's legacy, but also amplifies the ongoing fight for justice and the struggles of Baloch women. Here's the full report.
Brave Baloch Women, a new documentary from the Baloch Yakjahti Committee, now available on YouTube, highlights the untold stories of Baloch women who have fought for justice and equality in Pakistan. These women have not only challenged oppressive norms, but have become the vanguard of social and political movements in Balochistan and beyond. On the 4th death anniversary of human rights activist Karima Baloch, the Baloch advocacy group BYC released the documentary on its official YouTube channel. Karima Baloch, who was the first female chairperson of the Baloch Students' Organization, fled Pakistan in 2015 and sought refuge in Canada after facing threats to her life for speaking out against enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings by the Pakistani military. On December 22, 2020, her body was found submerged in Toronto's waterfront under suspicious circumstances. Her family, as well as numerous politicians and activists, including the Baloch Yakjahti Committee, had claimed that she was murdered by the Pakistani state. Despite Canadian authorities ruling her death as non-criminal, her passing had sparked significant concerns and demands for further investigation.
What we believe is that definitely something was missed in that investigation. Now, obviously, it was a matter where authorities of Canada, they have, according to them, they have completed their investigation. But again, as a person of an occupied land, living in a foreign country, as a refugee, I know myself, and there are many countless people like me who are always living in a constant threat that something can happen. And it is not just the Canada where a Baloch activist, a Baloch leader, and one of the most prominent Baloch person alive at that time was targeted. Karima Baloch was not just another Baloch activist. She was one of the most famous, renowned, most respected, undisputed Baloch leader.
There was suspicion surrounding the circumstances of Karima's death, as she had received threats prior to her death. Protests demanding a thorough investigation into Karima's death took place both in Balochistan and Canada. Various ethnic groups, including Baloch, Pashtun, and Sindhi minorities, issued statements in support of the call for justice. Despite these concerns, Canadian authorities concluded that there was no evidence of foul play and deemed the death non-criminal. The situation surrounding Baloch's death raised alarm, especially given the context of her activism and the threats she had received and her outspoken criticism of the Pakistani government.
A strong woman, a strong lady like herself, who faced many threats by the Pakistani state, whose family members were abducted, tortured, killed, just to keep her away from, leading the Baloch national movement. But she has never stopped. She has never changed her ideas, or she has never shown a sign of depression from those brutal actions of Pakistani state. But she was always very strong, a strong person who faced those brutalities with a strong commitment, a strong belief, and a strong resolve that I know what my goal is and I know how to achieve that goal.
Karima Baloch's tragic death serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who speak out against oppression. The unanswered questions surrounding her demise have fueled suspicions of a targeted assassination orchestrated by the Pakistani state. Karima's voice for Baloch rights, her relentless fight for justice, and her vocal criticism of human rights violations by the Pakistani military made her a threat to those in power. The Pakistani government's continued denial of any involvement in her death only reinforces the deep-rooted political repression that activists like Karima face. Her death remains a symbol of the broader struggle against state-sponsored violence and the silencing of dissent.
Pakistan's shadow looms large over another terror-related incident in India. In a significant breakthrough, a joint operation by the Jammu and Kashmir Police and the West Bengal Police's Special Task Force has led to the arrest of a senior member of the banned terror outfit Tehreek-ul-Mujahideen. The suspect, Javed Munshi, was apprehended in West Bengal. Munshi's arrest exposes yet again how Pakistan continues to serve as the training ground for terrorists targeting India. Acting on intelligence inputs from the Jammu and Kashmir Police, the West Bengal Special Task Force arrested Javed Munshi, a senior operative of the banned terror group Tehreek-ul-Mujahideen. Munshi, who hails from Srinagar, had been hiding at a relative's house in Cannon, West Bengal. What makes this arrest even more alarming is Munshi's background. According to intelligence sources, he received advanced training in Pakistan, where terror organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba continue to operate under the protection of the Pakistani state. Munshi is an explosives expert and a skilled weapons handler with a long history of involvement in terror activities, including the assassination of Shaukat Shah, a leader of the Ahle Hadith in 2011. Preliminary investigations reveal that Munshi used fake Pakistani passports to travel across South Asia, including multiple visits to Pakistan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. His latest missions, sources say, was to cross into Bangladesh under instructions from Lashkar-e-Taiba operatives. This highlights Pakistan's continued efforts to infiltrate India's borders and destabilize the region through its terror proxies.
From Srinagar, police came to here for getting a transit remand from CJM court. One person, his name is Javed Ahmed Munshi, 58 years old. He tried to join young people of the Jammu and Kashmir to propagate secessionists from the member of the people and for the purpose of revival of Muslim League. He was one of the member of Musharat Alam group. From his possession, he was arrested from Canning PS. Okay, he was arrested from Canning PS, and from his possession, one book, one CD, and a plastic bag. There was several documents seized by the police, and the Jammu Kashmir police came here to get the transit remand from the CJM Alipur court.
Javed Munshi's arrest is not an isolated incident. It is yet another thread in the vast web of terrorism spun by Pakistan over decades. The country's deep state, particularly its military and the notorious Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI, has long been accused of using terror as a state policy. Pakistan continues to harbor and support banned organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Tehreek-e-ul-Mujahideen. These groups operate training camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and along the Afghan border, providing recruits and advanced training in explosives, guerrilla tactics, and infiltration. These camps are not hidden. They are well documented by international intelligence agencies and even highlighted in United Nations reports. The ISI actively funds and supports these groups, using them as proxies to wage asymmetric warfare against India. In Kashmir, this policy has led to decades of violence, claiming thousands of innocent lives. Pakistan's infiltration routes along the line of control are conduits for trained terrorists and weapons, enabling a constant cycle of terror in the region. Over the years, its operatives have orchestrated attacks across India, including the horrific 26/11 Mumbai attacks, the 2001 Indian Parliament attack, and countless other bombings and assaults targeting civilians and security forces alike. These incidents underscore the country's strategic intent to destabilize India through terrorism.
Pakistan's military and intelligence apparatus has been using terrorism as an instrument of its state policy to fester instability in India, especially its army's intelligence wing. The ISI has been very active in supporting the terrorists who are operating in India by giving them all possible support. Because the Pakistan's military knows that it cannot defeat India in a conventional war, hence it is using terrorism to weaken India internally.
Despite global condemnation, Pakistan continues to provide safe havens for internationally wanted terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar. While these individuals are sanctioned by the United Nations, they enjoy freedom in Pakistan, addressing public rallies and running organizations under different names. This blatant disregard for international norms has repeatedly placed Pakistan under scrutiny by the Financial Action Task Force. which has kept the country on its grey list for years. Pakistan's duplicity is evident. While it portrays itself as a victim of terrorism on the global stage, it nurtures the very elements that perpetuate violence in South Asia. Its failure to act against terror financing and dismantle these networks has allowed groups like LET and JEM to flourish, spreading their influence beyond South Asia. This arrest not only highlights the vigilance of Indian security forces but also exposes the systematic role Pakistan plays in fostering terrorism. In recent years, Jammu and Kashmir has faced a growing menace of narco terrorism, a dangerous nexus where drug trafficking fuels terrorist networks. At the heart of this issue lies Pakistan's deep involvement, leveraging this strategy to destabilize the region. To help us unpack this complex challenge, we are joined by former Jammu and Kashmir Police Chief Sheshpal Vaid. As the former Director General of Police, Mr. Vaid has been at the forefront of counter-terrorism efforts during some of the region's most challenging times. His expertise offers critical insights into the evolving threats and the strategies needed to combat them. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. So, how has the nexus between drug trafficking and terrorism evolved in Jammu and Kashmir over the years? And what role does Pakistan play in sustaining this nexus?
The deep state of Pakistan is actually neck deep in narco terrorism, and Pakistan's deep state, I think, is one of the biggest. It runs one of the biggest drug cartel of the world, and it has been doing it not today, for many years. I've been watching it for last almost 3 decades. They have been changing the tactics. Initially, they used to use trans-border smugglers to push in drugs in the 90s and early 2000s.
So, what are the biggest challenges faced by security forces in curbing narco terrorism, especially with Pakistan's alleged use of drones to drop drugs near the LSE and international border?
See, the drones have brought a new paradigm. Earlier, we used to focus on the border villages, both on the LOC and the IB sector, but now with the procurement of drones by Pakistan from China and other places, that has actually changed our challenges. The challenges have become much more, because now the drone can come quite deep inside the territory and drop consignment, and they get in touch with their contacts in our territory, directing them that so and so, such and such place, drone has dropped the consignment of weapons and also drugs, and that person, whoever is their contact, goes and picks that thing, and then it reaches its destination. So the drones have brought actually a new challenge to the security forces, and I think we need to focus more on intelligence.
So, how deeply entrenched is Pakistan's involvement in using narco terrorism as a strategy to destabilize Jammu and Kashmir? Are there any specific regions or networks in Pakistan driving this?
See, unfortunately, our neighbor, the Pakistan deep state, has an avowed policy of destroying India, bleed India by 1,000 cuts. And one of the pillars of the Bleed India program is to destroy the youth of India, and the drugs is a very favorite weapon used by Pakistan's deep state, because some portion of this drug, before it reaches the international market in Mumbai and Delhi, gets consumed in areas of Kashmir Valley and now in Jammu region. Earlier it was Punjab also. So you have heard of notorious Punjab, Urta Punjab, and similar situation is developing in Jammu and Kashmir. And drug addicts are like zombies. The Pakistan's deep state can use them for anti-national activities. So I think they would rather prefer a big chunk of youth getting involved into drug addiction, and that's why we are facing situation of increasing drug addiction in Kashmir Valley and Jammu region. And I think we need to educate our people, and there has to be a societal response, not only police. Yes.
Do you believe Pakistan's intelligence agencies like ISI are actively orchestrating these operations? And if so, what evidence support these claims?
We have no doubt about ISI's involvement because all these terror outfits which operate on the border, they are controlled by ISI and the Pakistan's deep state. These drones which operate on the border, LOC and IB sector, are actually controlled by Pakistan's deep state. They cannot operate without their active involvement. The terrorist groups cannot operate without Pakistan deep state's involvement. They actually calibrate everything, and we have no doubt about it. And we have sufficient evidence about Pakistan's ISI and its deep state's involvement in drug cartel and in terrorism.
Thank you so much for your insights, sir.
Thank you.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.